Baldurs Gate 3 is a role-playing video game developed and published by Larian Studios. It's the third main game in the Baldurs Gate series, based on the Dungeons & Dragons tabletop role-playing game. You create a character to inhabit this world and explore its secrets and the rising conflict between the world and the cult of the Absolute. In a continuation of our series looking at the freedom in gaming, I'll be analysing the three major pillars of what I think constitutes this freedom. Freedom of character development, freedom of story, and freedom of choices. As I've completed the game twice already, yes, I don't know how I've done that as well, I'll do my best to analyse each point and do my utmost to avoid major spoilers. However, if you are keen on avoiding anything potentially spoilery, here's a one-line review. This game is fantastic, the best game in the last 5 years. Play it right now. Why are you still here? Go play it right now. Anyway, on with the video. We'll first begin by looking at the freedom of character development. In Baldurs Gate, you basically have complete control over who you want to be. In the character creation, you do have options to choose a preset character with an established backstory and a predetermined background questline, or you can completely customize a character to suit your playstyle. There are 11 races and 12 classes you can choose from, each race having unique racial abilities and proficiencies, and most races and classes have a few sub-options to extend your customization and specialization further. There are also 11 backgrounds you can set for your character, which changes your proficiencies and how your character is inspired through your various actions. You can also select your abilities however you want if you so choose. The game will auto-allocate what it thinks is best for your chosen class, but you can change it entirely if you so desire. If you'd rather play a fighter with high charisma rather than strength for some reason, go ahead. You can also change the skills you're proficient in. The game will auto-allocate these and incorporate the ones from your background, but you again can change these to whichever you prefer. And all that was for your class and general race. You can then edit your appearance. Here you have various choices of body types, your gender, including non-binary/other, the type of voice you have, and your face structure. While it does get limited when it comes to facial customization, offering around 6 or so choices for each race, it doesn't let you change the finer details. You can change things like facial scars, tattoos, piercings, makeup, and your hairstyle, but no additional options for eyes, noses, mouth, teeth, etc. Although I don't know what's going on with developers recently, but here we are, another genital slider. Once you've established your character, you're taken into the first area. Here your character and their followers are presented with a unifying background of being trapped on a Nautilus ship, and you're all infected with a mind flayer parasite. Now, while the game gives you this pre-established link to the story, you are free to tackle it however you see fit. Various followers will have options on how you should approach the problem of dealing with your parasite, but you do have some choices of your own, and you can develop and form your character however you want once you're in the open world through various speech options, your actions, and which quests you decide to follow. You're offered so many choices and avenues to develop your character as far as you want, whether it be good, evil, or somewhere in between. The game lays out its foundations for you to use in whichever way suits your character and your playstyle. One final point for this is the option for your character to form bonds and improve your relationship with each of your followers throughout your journey. Through your actions, you can improve or impair how each follower feels about you, which can lead to some leaving your party, it could lead to furthering their own personal quest and discovering more about them, or it could even lead to a potential romance options down the line. And you don't necessarily have to pursue each one. Even if your relations are high, you can disregard their feelings or their advances if you feel it doesn't fit your character. Because of this openness regarding your character, I see no problem giving Baldurs Gate an 8 out of 10 for character development. It does receive a tiny markdown for some of the limited character appearance customization and because of some of the pre-established traits and background given to us in the tutorial. But outside of that, you're free to take your character anywhere, do anything, make them who you want them to be. The road lies open for you, your character, and your followers. Now we come to freedom of story. In Baldurs Gate, there is an overarching storyline that follows your character in their quest to remove the mind flayer parasite from their head. This is all established within the first few moments of the game and is more or less the goal of the entire story. Now, while this should be the main focus for the player, it doesn't feel like there's a pressing urgency for the player to follow it in a dedicated fashion. You can also mostly disregard this story while tackling side quests and interacting with the world at large. Your followers, however, will sometimes reference its pressing nature while in the camp and out exploring. Depending on the followers you choose, you could find that you're reminded of it more often than not. There are also times when the parasite will affect your interactions with the characters you meet, so your story will be affected by it regardless of whether or not you wish to acknowledge it. There are obviously some storylines that don't focus on the player's background story, and you'll be able to choose to mostly ignore it in these moments. But I'd say it's more like the story is prodding you in the back every now and then to get you back on track. Despite this, I think the ability to craft your own story within this world is not totally limited limited because of the imposed background. Throughout my time playing, I thought of it more as I am myself or the character I wanted to play, and I've been placed in this situation so I can craft my story, background, and relations how I see fit. You can still massively influence the main storyline through your actions. You can wipe out almost all the factions you meet if you so wish. You don't have to choose one or the other in some circumstances. For example, in my first playthrough I had with a friend, we were taking an evil path, so we encountered both factions in the starting area and we went with the more evil of the two. After completing most of this storyline, we then wiped out the other faction. It's completely up to you how you influence your story. From all that I've seen, there's no real limit to who you can kill, ally, or bend to your will in this story laid out to you. You can even influence your followers themselves and their storylines. As you build the bond between your character and the followers, you'll be able to alter the path they might take alongside their own personal quests. You can even kill and lose your followers depending on the path you take, so you're never stuck with the same party throughout multiple playthroughs. So with all this in mind, I think I'm going to give Baldurs Gate an 8 out of 10 for its freedom of story. Yes, you're slightly limited with the pre-established story, which you are reminded of throughout your journey. However, the fact that you can tackle this story and its subsequent quests almost any way you want is fantastic. The ability to just kill anyone or befriend as many people as you want, wipe out entire factions, and carve out your own path within this story is brilliant, and more games should do it this way. Finally, we come to the freedom of choices. I mean, this almost deserves such a short section because I'm struggling to find faults with this. To put it plainly, Baldurs Gate has some of the most convoluted, diverse, and winding sets of choices you can make in a game. This completely makes sense when it's based around Dungeons and Dragons, where you can make decisions based on your own whim. I think almost every encounter and conversation I've had in my playthroughs have had a pretty wide selection of choices you can make to influence not only the story, but your character, your relationships, the items you find, who lives and who dies. Larian did such a good job trying to fit in as many avenues for the player to take so that they could flesh out their own path in their story. So many choices, particularly in the third act and near the end, have such a weight and influence that I actually took time to think about each possible outcome. So many times I was sitting there presented with a choice, my mouth agape and wonderment, thinking, how could this possibly play out? What are the benefits? What could go wrong? It's fantastic. All these choices culminate in what I can describe as an incredible feat of 17,000 ending variations for your character and your followers. There are at least 17,000 ways you can choose to take yourself in the vast open world. Honestly, it's fantastic. This is how choices are meant to be made in games. I don't want to have to make choices that are meaningless. I want to feel the impact and repercussions for each one. I honestly want to sit there and actually think about what I'm doing every time the game presents me a choice. It's a no-brainer. For me, I can't find any faults with this section. Baldurs Gate gets a 10 out of 10 for freedom of choices. Baldurs Gate to me is the game I've been waiting for a very long time. This game presents its players with a vast open world with the freedom to make their own character, explore its mysteries, and carve their own path within the foundation of this fantastic setting. I don't feel like there was ever a time while I was playing this game where I thought it was a chore. Each moment, each area, each quest gripped me with wonderment and excitement every step of the way. The crafted story presented to the player is so grand and exciting, I didn't want to stop playing until I physically couldn't. This probably explains how I managed to complete it not only fast, but twice. It's been so long since a game has been able to do that to me. I honestly can't remember when I've devoted this much time to a new release. And to see large-scale developers coming out and saying Baldurs Gate is an anomaly, it's what makes me hate the level of corporatization of games development today. So many companies are so large and unwilling to take risks to develop something new and fresh. They only want to make the most money in the quickest amount of time. I find it funny that Baldurs Gate came out around the same time that Rockstar announced the re-release of Red Dead Redemption. Rockstar used to be one of these companies willing to not toe the line and do things daringly. And then they've come out and charged $50 for a 13-year-old game which releases on nearly decade-old consoles. These once pinnacle-level developers are now in the hands of crusty old businessmen who don't care about the player experience. They just want to chuck all the microtransactions, battle passes, season passes, and all sorts into their game, and then ditch it after a year. I praise Larian for being able to create something so free and expansive with nothing but the price on the box. No hidden fees or anything, just buy it and play it. That's how it should be. If you are unsure at all, of whether or not you should buy this game. I think if you're a fan of either grand storylines, old school RPGs, or D&D in general, or just games that say what they are on the box, don't hesitate. You need to pick this up. This game needs to be a testament to what players want in this industry. This is how games are meant to be made. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any recommendations of games you'd like me to look at, let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you agree or not with what I had to say. I'd love to see your perspective. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for future installments. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.